watched all your interviews with how you wrote the theme song, how you went back and forth with Chris Carter, how your elbow hit your sound effects. So we're very familiar with that.
Okay.
So with that having to be said, you composed one of the most widely recognizable theme songs. So when you were writing the score for Fight the Future, how much of the theme song did you have in your head while you were doing the whole movie?
Very little, to tell you the truth. The music for the movie was mostly based on the mythology episodes, where the music was a little less X-Files, but more sort of traditional orchestral type stuff. And every once in a while, because the theme is so simple, I'd throw a little piece of it in and out of moments. But it wasn't used, gee, I forget the very beginning. Oh no, that's the second movie. The second movie, what was that called? That was called...
The second movie, I have the poster right here.
Isn't that I Want to Believe?
I Want to Believe. I Want to Believe.
Yeah. Right, the very beginning of that was just the theme, just the whistle part, not the accompaniment, just that. And then it went into the regular, the score, the movie score from there. And again, there were times in both movies where the theme was used, just a little taste of it, a little fragment of it. And actually, in all the episodes, the TV episodes, it wasn't used all that much, I have to say, because it wasn't actually appropriate, when, for some scary, tense suspense drama underscore, that's, unless it's one of the macabre, dark comedy episodes, it wasn't, and no one said anything about it. And I thought it was the right call. And I figured, well, geez, they play the damn thing in the beginning of the show every week. So, there's plenty of that.
So it was really, the score itself was unique to every single episode.
You put it perfectly. Exactly right. Yeah. And, the most fun were the standalones, where there wasn't that kind of serial continuation of the mythology stuff, which was more, as I said earlier, a little bit more, not entirely, but a little bit more, traditional orchestral stuff, while the standalone was just, start from scratch, create something with combinations of sound and music that, would be so original, So from, one episode of those to the next, there was never, there wasn't any piece that kept coming back. It was all new stuff and new sounds, but it still had the, not to sound, full of it, but it all had the Mark Snow kind of touch,
Was it difficult? It was, the music was always incredible, always perfect. Was it difficult creating I know nothing about music. I have no background in music. Is it difficult creating such a brand new score for every single episode for each movie? I mean, you said you're only repeating the intro, right? So you have the typical X-Files intro, but you have this brand new score for every episode. How difficult is that to put together?
Okay, well, no matter what Chris Carter and the producers and the directors said, sometimes they'd call up and say, oh man, this is a shit episode. You've got to save us, blah, blah, blah. I never really got that. I never really understood that because I thought they were all amazing. And to me, they were like doing a mini movie, you know, a 45-minute movie every week. And it was incredibly, what can I say, just so exciting because it wasn't the typical TV show stuff, you know. So it always got me up for it. You know, I was really, you know, I always couldn't wait for the next one, you know, to arrive, no matter what they said, you know. And at the beginning in the pilot, they thought what they wanted was just sort of what I call vapor music, you know, just sustained whooshes, you know, little accent here and there, but not really, you know, music per se. And after a few episodes, I said to them, you know, this is getting a little, monotonous to me. And I think it could handle, you know, I think I could reach out a little more and try some new stuff. And they said, all right, but, you know, don't go crazy and blah, blah, blah. Tell us when so we can hear it. So I relied on my past musical background, which was as an oboe player at Juilliard, and also composition, which I was very interested in, real avant-garde, serious music. So I started throwing, you know, pieces of, you know, gestures of those kinds of things. And I thought, wow, this is great. And I was so incredibly comfortable with that, you know. And finally, one of them, I forget if it was Chris or someone, said, hey, what the hell are you doing? And I said, well, you know, what difference does it make? Do you like it or not? And they said, we love it. Just keep doing it. You know, I said, and they said, can you explain it? I said, don't bother. It's too much takes up too much time. You like it, I like it, end of story. Let's go to the next one, you know.
With all the shows and the movies that you composed, can you explain if your creative process changed a little bit coming back for the reboot?
No, it was like a welcome. Oh, here's my old friend come back to visit me now, you know. In terms of, you know, what inspiration, whatever, I'd sit down, you know, all this stuff you see in the background was out there, out in California, you know, when I moved here. And well, anyway, whether I was there or here, I'd sit down on the keyboard behind me, if you can see it, I think. Yep, there it is. Okay. And I'd play something. I'd download the episode. It was on the monitor in back of me. And I just start a few notes here and a few notes there. And that would always lead to the next note and the next note. And exponentially, this thing would take some kind of a shape. And to make sure I wasn't fooling myself, you know, when I'd be finished with a piece for the score, I say, okay, boy, that's great. All right, I'll come back tomorrow and I'll listen to it. And then it was sometimes, are you kidding? This sucks. You got to change this and try and take this out. Okay, then I was sure, I was happy with it then. And, you know, in LA, somebody from the show came over to my place. It was in Santa Monica, so it was close to the Fox studios. And for, what was it, 9 times 22, whatever that is, there was somebody there every time listening to it, and that was another part of it that was just so fantastic, so enjoyable, because these people would come over and they said, this is just so great. We get to get out of the studio and we come here and we see how the music has affected our, our episodes, and they rarely said anything like, well, it's too slow. Oh, it's too fast, or whatever. They just said, oh God, that's so great. Thank you. Thank you. Every once in a while there would be, oh, when so-and-so jumps out of the closet, hit it a little harder or a little softer, but it was, especially the directors, because they couldn't think of what the music was going to be, when they were shooting it. And there were a lot, in so many scenes, there's just no dialogue, and the music has to carry the day. So it always worked out great. And they felt, oh, here's this sort of, it's another character. The music was another, character in the show. And
who were your musical influences for the show? Did you have a show or a person or a musical instrument or anything that really inspired you for the show?
Well, I guess I'd have to say Neil Diamond more than anyone else. Wait a minute, are you kidding me?
Well, that would be interesting. I like that one. It's good. It's good. It's fitting.
No, I am nothing against him, but I thought I'd get you to laugh, for Christ's sake. Jesus.
I like
all right.
Well, we're taught.
I couldn't wait to hear where that answer was going.
I know, that's when we're like, wait a minute.
I was like, wait, hold up.
No, I think there are a lot of avant-garde composers, like, oh God, I'm sure, I don't mean to, say you don't know who these people are, but it really doesn't matter. But in the classical world of more modern music, Stravinsky, Bartok, Prokofiev, Ravel, and John Cage and Xenakis, and just a lot of modernists who have really, and some of the art pop people, like, good old like Eno, Brian Eno, and
singing words to your
right.
theme song.
Yes.
How did that come about?
So, Frank Spotnitz, of course, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So it was his idea.
Okay.
And he was living in, Paris at the time. And he has this assistant, Avi, right?
Yep.
And she did a lot of the grunt work, the organizing of it. And the idea was I played it on the keyboard and recorded it. And I kind of hummed the melody that they would put words to. And it was a sort of a competition of, whose lyric was going to be the best one or accepted. And I think it was Chris and maybe even Frank too. They were the judges of it all. I didn't do that. And I really hope more than anything that something good came out of it.
What is it like having, I mean, your song, it's my ringtone. It's been my ringtone forever on my phone. Yeah. Having been such a fan, what is it like having a song that literally you've had it pop up on various shows, and I even ESPN, I watch ESPN and they have their own version of it for somebody. It's called like the Fowler Files or something.
Yeah.
And and it's everywhere. What is it like that 25 years later, you still have this song that is so recognizable by people all over the world?
Well, you know, that's a great question. And I really, you know, it was there was a long version of it that was like a hit instrumental in England and France and Ireland. I don't know if it was number 1 or 2, whatever it was, but I realized that, God, people know this thing literally all over the world. And the odd part is most of the time when I'm writing music, whether it was for that or anything else, I'm alone, you know. It's not like what I really expected and I was hoping for is I'd go out of the studio and there would be like 1,000 people cheering me on, you know, and going, yeah, man, you did it. That's our favorite thing. You are the man, you know. But, you know, all I do is hear, boy, this guy in Yugoslavia loves it, and Buenos Aires, they love it. Africa loves it, you know, well, China, Japan, blah, 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 you know. So, you know, look, seriously, it's because how it came about, you know, was just like, it was not some mad scientist sitting down and putting in days and days of work and just making it right. And it, you know, came about where I did 3 themes before that with, you know the story, I think, right?
Can you?
Okay, so Chris Carter sends over a bunch of CDs and he says, you should listen to this because I love the drums and this one, I love the sax and this whatever. I love the guitar, I love the synth, I love the vocals on this one. And I said, oh, okay. And so I did one, and luckily he lived close to me. And I think that's really, you know, believe it or not, one of the reasons I got the job in the first place, because he was in, you know, he's only 20 minutes away. Okay. So, so he comes over and he's very respectful. And he said, let's hear it. And I play it. And he said, gee, that's good. But, you know, it seems a little too, it's a little too like a horror movie. It's a little too loud or it's not, whatever. It's just, you know, give it another go. And he sends some more CDs and we do this a second time, same thing. But, you know, he's not, you know, he still has confidence that I can do it. Third time, same thing. And after the third time, I told him, look, let's do this. You know, put it politely, you go away and I'll try this completely from scratch, throwing out everything I've done so far. And I know what you want. I know you want something simple, you know, not really overproduced, you know, and just give me a go with it, and I'll call you when I have something. So that's what happened. And I came up with, actually, I don't know if it was the accompaniment. I think no, I came up with the tune, the melody first. And I thought, okay, that's nice, but what can play it? What instrument? You know, and I went through, God, you know, the obvious thing, the piano and bells and, you know, voices and, you know, all kinds of instruments. And I had this sampling box that had all kinds of sounds, and I was pushing the button and going through them all. And I came upon this thing. It was number 125, and it was called Whistling Joe. Okay, well, let's listen to that. So I played it on that and said, oh, that's kind of neat. It certainly doesn't sound like necessarily all that scary, but let's see what else I can do underneath it. So oh no, can we start again? Anyway, he leaves. I put my elbow on the keyboard and I had an effect on the keyboard. It was an echoplex delay. In other words, if you hit a note, it goes bam, 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 bam. So there was a chord, chung, chung, chung. And I said, whoa, that's cool. It just has a rhythm, right? And then I started playing the da-ba-da-dum, da-ba-da-dum, and that's all it took. So that turned into da-ba-da-da-ba-da-da-ba-da-da-ba-da-da-dum, right.
Love
Okay. So that was the first thing,
that. Okay.
actually. Wow. Sorry about that.
That's
No,
okay.
it's great.
This is
Okay.
interesting. I love this.
Yeah.
So it's da-ba-da-da-ba-da, and it was on the piano, I believe. Okay, great. What's next? All right, it needs some support. It needs something underneath that. All right, so let's get a few different kinds of low pad sounds, low synth pads or string sounds, all one note, A. So, okay, then I had combinations of interesting, thick kind of low tones. So got to the ding, 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 and just underneath it. And then I thought, okay, well, it needs a little like percussion, something going with it. So there was always sort of, I think, a boom at the beginning, well, and then like drumsticks on something that played the chapa cha chapa cha chapa cha, played along with the piano. So I wrote, the accompaniment before the theme, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. Okay, great. So let's see what can go over this. And then I came up with that thing, and it was just so drop dead simple. I thought, oh, he'll never go for this. This is ridiculous. And then I pushed that button, 125, Whistling Joe, and there it was. And I remember this was in Santa Monica, 15th Street, above Montana Avenue, and small, modest house. And I turned my garage into a studio. The door was open, and my wife hears that, and she comes in and she says, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, I'm just messing with this theme for the show." And she said, that's different, that's interesting. It's kind of spooky, but it's not deadly, it's not like jam, 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 And she said, go for it. Try, call him, see what he thinks. So he came over, and he was never, I don't think he even is that way, or what I'm trying to say is he's a very kind of, he's not like, wow, God damn it, I love it. Or you son of a bitch, I'm going to kick you off the show. Nothing like that. He's, that's good. Or, gee, try it again. So that's what happened. He said, oh, wow, that's interesting. Play it again. And he said, okay, good. I like it. Let's go with it. I mean, just like that, as like, as flatline as you possibly could get. Okay. So he's happy, and I figure, all right, no big deal. I did it. And he says, he called me a week later. He said, look, some guys at the studio need to hear this. And I said, oh, they'll fuck it up. That's for sure. But he said, and I will go in there with you. And this was in the days of cassettes and boom boxes, So I bring my boom box and the cassette, and I meet him at the office, these three executives. And just as we're going in, he gets a call or message about, Chris, man, you got to come over to casting. We're having a problem. You know, this is going to be up to you. And he says to me, oh, crap, listen, just go in. They'll love it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And I said, oh, great. Okay, thanks. He takes off. I go in, 3 guys in suits, pleasant, very nice. You know, how are you? Oh, it's a nice day. Yes, it's a nice day. Okay, good. Oh, that's a nice shirt you have on. Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's get to it. Let's, you know, what do you got? And I said, well, here it is. Press the button. And it was one of the greatest experiences ever. And I'll tell you why right now. The first guy says, wow, you know, it's kind of, it has, there's something, Jerry. Then the second guy goes, you know, I see what you're doing. It's so, Bill. And the third guy is, it really, it has a feeling. I get a feeling thing. And, oh, well, Mark, you know, thank you for coming in. I knew for sure they didn't know what the fuck to make out of this thing. No way. You know, they're thinking X-Files, they're thinking bang, you know, and they hear this kind of lilting sweet, but with a tinge of like, oh shit, in the background, you know. So anyway, the show comes out, you know, a month or two later, you know, people are really going nuts about the theme. And I get a call from one of these guys from that meeting. And he says, Mark, yeah, Mark, remember me, Bill, from the meeting? I said, yes, I do, Bill. How's it going? He said, Mark, did I tell you how great that theme was? I said, yes, you sure did.
That's awesome.
So, I love that, you know, these studio guys. Look, you know, hey, he calls up to say he likes it finally. Well, why did he like it? Because everyone else did, you know.
If you could say something to the fans over the last 27 plus years, what would it be?
It would be, you guys are responsible for making my life what it is now. And it's something I could never repay you all. Your support and all the correspondence I've got from everyone. This woman doctor in Brazil has the notes of the theme tattooed on her back and stuff. I always knew the intensity of how everyone, you know, responded to this thing. And it was, when I originally did it, as I said, it was so simple, it was so innocent. I never knew anything like this would happen. But I just, if I could meet every one of the fans, and Christ, how many people would that be? 8 million? You know, 100 million? I don't know. I would hug them and shake their hands and say thank you. And, you know, that's happened. There have been, you know, meetings, or what do you call it? You know, when
Cons, the various Comic Cons.
Yeah.
right, yeah. So, but and you know, I have it on my cell phone too. You know, I go into a store, you know, and someone says, "Wow, how'd you find that?" And I said, "Well, you know, it's the." He said, "I know exactly what it is. I love that." You know, and I said, "Well, I wrote it." "What? You didn't write it?" "Yes, I did." You know, blah blah blah. So it's been spectacular. You know, because I've never done anything like it afterwards. Not even close. You know, so it has a special place beyond that. You know, it's just the fact that, you know, we're doing this interview, how many years past the damn beginning of the thing, you know? That's, will this ever die? Maybe not. It'll live on. Is it like Beethoven and Mozart? No way. But it's what it is, what it is. As I said earlier, I just loved every minute of it because it was like doing a mini, you know, big movie every week, you know.
Yeah. Well, we thank